Hollywood loves stories of zealousness.
Absolutely. If you look at the success of the Dirty Harry movies in the 70s and the Death Wish series, and today if you look at the popularity of superhero movies, the idea of somebody taking justice into their own hands is...
That's exactly what the Torah portion is all about. If you read the name of the Parsha, Pinchas, it's the name of a person that he was Kana'i, was a zealous. So in the biblical narrative, it's a man that saw a disgrace, tremendous plague. It was a Midianite woman with a leader of the tribe of Shimon. They have a public disgrace, and he went ahead and he took, in our language, as a gun. In those days, it was a sharp knife, and he slaughtered these two, and as a result, the plague stopped. And he not only received an honor, he gets the Medal of Honor and have the name of the Parsha after him, and is a good example of positive zealousy. So the question is, in the Jewish faith, when do we condemn zealousness, and when we said, wait a second, this is something that we should all admire?
This is one of the things that I love about our religion, is the fact that even though the Torah says very specifically that Pinchas has been rewarded and that he did a good act, the sages in the Talmud, they still have struggled with this. They still dispute this. Am I correct?
The rabbis have a long discussion when is a act of zealousness is positive and when it's not. Take, for example, in a current event, in our language, assassination of Rabbi, the late Prime Minister of Israel, or the capture of Eichmann by the Mossad, or the act of the late Menachem Begin, the Prime Minister of Israel, went ahead against the whole world and wiped out and bombed the nuclear in Iraq in the 80s. So again, when you say that this is something that we should admire and the act of zealousness is positive, and when we said it's negative, is Dr. Baruch Goldstein positive or negative? A man that went ahead on the time that the Arab worship in the cave of Machpelah and just took a gun and killed so many of them, is that something that we should condemn or admire?
You address this very issue in the book, in your book, Understanding the Linguistic Codes of Rashi, how zealousness can be looked at two different ways.
Yes, because in general, individual should not take the law by themselves. It's not something that we go for in Jewish faith. The story of Jacob's two sons went ahead and wiped out the city of Shechem. Jacob said, I'm unhappy with that. Even it was a, in many ways, positive outcome. So for sure we cannot compare biblical examples to our day and time, but what we can say is that individuals that take the law upon themselves and make decisions to go ahead and kill other people because they don't like what they said or disagree with what they said, this is something that we condemn strongly. Versus if it's a government, if it's an organization that make a decision that this is something that help the nation, then for sure they do what is right. Even the whole world hold that they are zealous, and it's an act of zealousness.
Problem that I have with this line of thinking is if we're saying that it's one lone individual acting on his own, then it's bad and it's a condemnation. But if the individual is backed by an organization, then are we saying that what the terrorists did in 9/11, because they were backed by an entire organization, Al-Qaeda, that's okay? Because
God forbid. What we said is organization. I meant by that government.
So a legal government.
Legal government, legal police, army, and they make decision that that's what they save the nation. It's one thing. Individual or organization that basically a terrorist organization. This is something that for sure we are strongly opposed.
It is a tragic fact of life today that people use the spirit of Pinchas or say that they are acting in the name of God to justify acts of terrorism and violence. We must be quick to condemn these acts and not allow vigilantism to displace true justice.